Hello, my name is Mimi,
Hi, my name is Sophie.
and welcome to another episode of Cinema Affairs.
Today we're going to talk about different teen shows and movies that we've watched as we were growing up and also that we really like at the moment.
Yeah, and we've got some really cool shows that I personally have watched a couple times, and two movies, right?
Two movies, one that is one of my favorites, like all-time favorites, and one that I've actually seen last year and I don't know, like it stuck with me in a very interesting way.
Should we start with one of the movies?
Okay, yeah, sure. Which one?
Dead Poet Society.
That's the one that's my favorite.
So basically, Sophie convinced me to watch this movie during one of our first podcast episodes, and I've actually watched it like 2 weeks ago, I think. On a plane, I was between two strangers and I was sobbing.
Of course you were. Everyone sobs. I cry every single time. I mean, I'm a crybaby as I am, but I love it so much, and it makes me emotional every single time.
Dead Poet Society is the first movie that we're going to talk about, and I'm going to give you a little introduction to the story if you have not seen it yet. So, this film is a coming of age story with a lot of boys and a very unusual English teacher really wants these boys to grow into emotionally mature men.
Do you want to tell me what you liked so much about the movie? Because you've seen it quite recently, and honestly, you've seen it with a maturity that most people, I don't think, have when they see this for the first time. Because usually people, I feel like, see it when they're like 16. Like it's more of a classic that you see when you're a bit younger.
It's honestly one of those movies that you watch and you think, oh wow, rich people have a great childhood. Because it's filmed at one of those boarding schools with some of those rich kids that get to have the best experience and the best education. And what I liked about it is that even if these kids are pretty rich, they are portrayed as just like regular teenagers. And wait, do you think they're rich or is it in my head?
Some of the boys are on scholarships, but some of them are rich. Like I think you are supposed to pay quite a big fee because I think it's private education, and they are thought to go to Ivy League. So I'm going to assume that most of them
They are
do
rich.
have like a wealthy background. Let's put it this way.
And because of that, it's kind of set up in a very fancy world, but it's one of those movies in which you feel like a fly on the wall because everything is happening so slow and so beautiful, and you see every single character is very well made, and even if they don't really go into details on their background, you still like form sort of a connection with them because they are not mean kids. They are very genuine and innocent, and the way they form friendships and a bond with literature is so genuine and demure. Sorry.
I think the reason why this movie strikes a chord with me every single time I see it is because I see myself so much in the first character. Like, he doesn't come from a wealthy background. That's the whole idea about his family, that they are really making an effort for them to be there. And even though he's so passionate about arts and theater, his parents really want him to go to med school in order for him to have a good life and be able to support himself, which, is understandable. Like, they're doing the best they can and they're being responsible parents. But I think they don't have the understanding of stopping and actually seeing what their kid is like and what would actually make him happy. I don't know, it makes me emotional every single time because it just reminds me of my time in high school when I was preparing for med school, and I was so sad that I won't be able to do like art for the rest of my life. I don't know. You know how when you're a teenager, it just feels like every single decision you make every single day sometimes is just so tragic and you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. But after a
Yeah.
while, when you actually grow up, you do understand how many choices you have and that, life is actually so much bigger than you imagine it to be.
Yeah, I think it's a very loud cry for help for kids from all over the world that ever experienced manipulative parents or very strict parents
Yeah.
that would never let them follow their own path, and that would decide what's best for them, even if no one can decide what's best for you, honestly.
Yeah,
Even if
exactly.
your parents think they know what is best for you, I don't think that's true in terms of choosing a career, because every single one of us is born different, and we should be let to choose what we want to do with our lives, even if it's good or wrong.
Yeah.
Because after all, it's our life, and we just deserve to be the ones in control, I guess. And it's interesting because I've seen that happening a lot of times to my friends, and like even people I don't know that are struggling to make their parents understand that it's their life and
Yeah.
they are in control of their life. And I think to whomever goes through this or have gone through this, it would be very helpful, useful, whatever, to show this movie to their parents, because
Oh, definitely.
not like whenever somebody doesn't let you be, there could be consequences.
Especially, like I said, at that age when everything seems like the end of the world, it's really hard to understand that, oh, wait, it gets better, it's gonna be fine. I know it's very peculiar age, and I think as a parent you really have to keep your eyes open and understand what you have to say or to do in order to not break your child, because you never know exactly where that last straw will be. What did you think about the teacher?
The teacher got me very emotional because my dad is a teacher as well.
Oh, I get that. Oh, I love that.
Yeah. And I think my dad is a teacher just like Keaton was, because my dad always tries to make the kids think for themselves and open their minds and like genuinely help them. Not because he's paid to do so, because honestly, he's chosen this job as a teacher in his 60s,
Oh,
50s.
wow. Okay, that's really interesting.
Yeah, and he does it because he loves kids and because he really wants to give a little bit of his knowledge to the next generation, which I think is admirable. And I think these teachers that are genuinely wanting to make these kids' lives better are real life angels. I really love a person who wants to do good in their community.
Yeah. No, I love that. I'm so happy you got to experience teachers like that.
We're lucky.
Whoa.
Okay, moving on to the next film.
Film or series this time?
Yeah, let's just do a series
Okay.
this time. I would like to talk about Sex Education.
I have not seen Sex Education. I know, shame on me. But Mimi is gonna tell me all about it. She's gonna preach to me why I should watch this show. And Mimi, please, you have the stage. Tell me what this is about and why I should watch it.
For a little context, I've actually researched a lot of teen series. I've basically seen them all, and Sex Education is one of the best teen series I've ever watched. Not only because it's a very funny story, but also because it's something that teaches you a lot of things that you should know when you're a teenager, especially about sex. So it's about this teenage boy with a sex therapist mother that teams up with a high school classmate to set up an underground sex therapy clinic at school.
This is very
It sounds
fascinating.
crazy.
It's so
Yeah,
interesting.
it is interesting because you learn a lot about sex problems, because all of these students are coming to them with like different issues that you would never think about, and suddenly you know a lot of things about sex that you didn't know exist before.
This sounds like a very educational show.
It's exactly what it's called, sex education. That pretty much sums it up. Honestly, I don't want to give too much. All that I can say is that every single actor plays their role beautifully. It's a very inclusive show, so you will find all types of sexuality in this.
Really nice.
The first 3 seasons are impressive. They cover so much of teenagers' problems, and they have beautiful image. Everything is set up in the British countryside, in a fictional world. The only thing I didn't like about it was the final season.
Oh, why not?
It changed completely. They've changed the school, they've changed the cast. I didn't like the fourth season because it felt forced.
Who's your favorite character?
The main character, Otis Milburn, which is played by Asa Butterfield, is a very interesting young man. which can be attractive for people like me who really like nerds. I think he's so cute because he's so shy and so innocent in a sense, and he makes a lot of mistakes and he admits to them, and he's a very smart boy. But at the same time, I really love Jean's character, his mother. She's a great sex therapist, very open and somehow fun. I don't know. She's very, very fun. You
Nice.
really like watching Jean in this show. Yeah, these are my favorite characters.
Okay, you convinced me. I will have to give it a watch.
Yeah, you should. And let me know what you think about it after.
Definitely.
Should we talk about Euphoria next?
Yes, let's talk about Euphoria because I actually did a lot of research recently about it, and I discovered a newfound love for this TV show.
Okay, you've watched both seasons.
I actually watched them as they came out.
Did you know they're filming season 3 right now?
Yes, I know, and I am really excited to see it, but I am a tiny bit anxious just because I'm not sure if it's gonna have the same effect now that they're grown up. But I also think like this thing just came into my mind that the people who watched the first two seasons were teenagers when they watched it. Like I was a teenager when I watched it, and now I'm also grown up. So maybe I will actually relate to them. But it generally depends on the lens that they, chose to tell the stories in season 3. But I am excited.
I mean, I think the thing I liked most about Euphoria was the directing.
First things first, tell me what Euphoria is about, just in a few words.
Euphoria is mainly about Rue Bennett, which is a drug addict fresh from rehab who's struggling to stay clean and make sense of her future. Her life changes drastically when she meets Jules Vaughn, a trans girl who recently moved to town following her parents' divorce. I loved how raw their relationship was and the way they've chosen to ignore sexuality as a concept, you know? They were like, oh, this girl is not straight, she's not gay, she just is. And then she falls in love with Jules, who is trans, but also kind of doesn't care
Yeah.
if she likes girls or boys. Which I think is a very accurate depiction of sexuality because it's like so fluid and unexpected. And sometimes you like people just because you like people, not because they're a male or a female.
I think what I liked about this show was how they approached stereotypes. Because, each character is basically a stereotype, but they actually went further and deeper into why they are the way that they are. They gave every single character such, like a deep background, which I thought that as an audience, and especially when you're a teenager, you can really relate to those characters because you can find yourself somewhere. You can be like, oh, this happened to me, or oh, I saw that, or I understand where she's coming from or he's coming from. And I think that was really a really good approach to it.
Yeah, that's why I've rewatched the first episodes a million times. It was so good to rewatch their stories.
Yeah.
The way Maddie grew up, the way Kat grew up. I thought Maddie's backstory was more interesting than Rue's, for example. And in season 2, I love the drama. Like between Maddie and Sydney Sweeney. I just love that love triangle between Jacob Elordi, Sydney Sweeney, and I don't know her name in real life, but Maddie. And they are so beautiful in real life as well. Like they are so hot, all of them.
Absolutely. I think Euphoria is the one piece of cinema where I really enjoy Zendaya. I think she did an amazing character in there, and I just like her approach for the drug addict teenager, if that makes sense.
I think she's the perfect pick for this role.
She was really good. She just morphed into that, and she was so believable, and it was so heartbreaking. And I don't know, I really liked her performance, that specific episode, because I think everyone knows about it. I think it's in the second season, where she has that massive fight with her mom, and she talks about, where she put her drugs and everything, and she breaks down, and she goes through such a roller coaster of emotions and manipulation and everything. It's just so well done. I feel like every single person that saw that really, you can't necessarily empathize if you haven't been through that, but you can sympathize. And she really struck a chord in everyone's heart with that specific episode.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those very few series that show a realistic depiction of drugs.
Yeah. I think, people were a bit upset with Euphoria because for some of them it looked like they were romanticizing, like drug addiction and alcohol addiction and everything.
I think they are right to be upset about it, but at the same time, this is how drugs look like in real life for real people, and that's why they are so, how do I say this, compelling?
Exactly, that's what I thought because I don't think they were romanticizing it. I think Euphoria really, like the creators, really knew what they were doing with this show because everything is showcased from a teenager's point of view. That's why it's so colorful and it is so out of this world in a lot of scenes because it's from the point of view of how a teenager just understands,
Perceives
yeah,
it.
exactly,
Yeah.
perceives all of these moments, which I thought was really interesting.
And I think even if they show drugs in a very colorful and attractive way, they don't fail to show the effects because it is very interesting to many teenagers to try drugs, but it's also very dangerous and it can ruin lives, and they are very accurately showing that.
Definitely. And I think they're not portraying it as something good, especially because they give them such rich backstories. You can see that Rose went into drugs just to stop the pain from her dad dying. Like, you understand that, oh, this is not great. This was a coping mechanism. And now they can't stop her. And as much as she's trying to stop, like, it's really hard for her. She's almost incapable of doing so. And she really struggles with that.
She has a massive imbalance in her body. Like, she's not a normal person with a normal life. She struggles a lot. Like, she's got massive issues that she's had forever and doesn't know how to cope with them, and that's why she chooses drugs. It's not a normal scenario in which a normal teenager starts taking drugs because they are fun.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And that's why I never thought that they romanticized it. I just think they stuck to the themes and they did a great job.
If anything, I think it's a great job of prevention, this series.
No, I agree. Yeah, I'm excited to see how season 3 will turn out.
Me too.
I hope they're gonna choose to shoot it on film as well because I love the second season being shot on film. Actually, when I saw the first episode of the second season, for some reason, it instantly struck me that it's not shot digitally the same that the first season was because just film has this life to it and personality. And the second season, besides the drama, stories, and everything else, I watched it because it was stunning. It just looked so good. It was amazing.
Honestly, cinematography in Euphoria is
It's
impressive.
really impressive, especially for, a show that you would label as a teen show. They did such a great job.
Such a great job. Like, I am obsessed with Euphoria and I will forever be.
Yeah, I have to see it again. It's been years since I've seen it.
No, I'm watching every now and then an episode of Euphoria just to just to get creative. Whenever I want to get creative, I either play the soundtrack of Euphoria, or I just watch a random episode.
I'll start doing that. I'll start doing that,
Yeah,
actually. Yeah.
you should.
Thank you for the tip. Okay, which one is next in line?
I think you should tell me about How to Have Sex.
I'm gonna try to not give away too much of the film because I still want you to watch it being intrigued by it. To sum it up, it's about these three British girls that go on a holiday and they go clubbing, they go out, they hook up with people like it's all good and fun, teenage, whatever. Until one day when something happens and everything has a turn and it's not all fun and games anymore.
What do you mean? What happens?
Do you have the dog with you?
Yeah, he's right here.
I love him.
Say hello. Okay, I think we can just continue.
So these three girls, they go on a holiday somewhere in England, and basically they get to hang out with this other group of people, also teenagers. The main character of those three girls, she goes out with one of the guys from that other group. And what happens is that they end up having sex on the beach. The problem here on the beach is that you can see that she's not really sure, she's not really comfortable, but it's a very gray situation that when you grow up and you have the maturity, like, I mean, you can have the maturity when you're 16, but when you have the maturity, you understand to not go through with it. Like, as a guy or as a woman, you know how to communicate, be like, okay, this is not what I want. Yeah, so that happens, and then I think where the really bad turn happens in the film is when they go back to their house, like their accommodation, and she kind of goes to lie down and to sleep, and then that guy goes to sleep next to her, and then they kind of start having sex while she's asleep, and then she wakes up during that. And yeah, like it's very heavy in a sense. I mean, no, it's very heavy in all the senses.
Oh, that sounds like rape to me.
Well, that's the thing, because it is, but it's something preventable once you actually have the maturity to be able to understand that you don't need to do something just to be cool. Because the whole
Yeah.
idea, the way that it's presented in this movie, is that this girl is trying to do all these things just to fit in a sense, and check a list that, oh, I'm this old, so I'm supposed to do this. But once you actually grow up and once you understand how just things work in the world and everything, you do understand that there's no box in this world that you need to check. You need to be ready and prepared. And that's why this movie is so sad, and it's just, I think it's a movie that teenagers need to see.
It sounds to me like this movie should be seen by every single teenager out there.
Yeah, both boys and girls, definitely.
Yeah. And I will definitely give it a watch as well, and most likely will recommend it to my community as well.
There's a very interesting scene in this movie. You're gonna watch it. It's basically this guy, one of the boys, goes on stage on this party, and basically there other girls come up from just the crowd where everybody is, and they start giving him a blowjob. And I went to this screening where the actual director of the film went. She's a woman as well, and she was telling us that that thing actually happened in real life. Like, they went on location at some point for this holiday, and that's something that they witnessed, and that's how they put it in the movie, because that's something that just happened there, which was crazy.
So it's based on real.
So, some of the things that happened, yeah, like the
Okay.
girls are not based on something real per se, although let's be honest, like, we all know this type of situations, like, they're real. It's just not necessarily a specific one person that actually went on this holiday and all of this happened.
Well, a very sad story, very interesting one. I'll definitely give it a watch.
Yeah, definitely, and you guys watch it as well. Very powerful.
And the last one, on a lighter, more fun note,
Yeah.
yeah, it's gonna be Stranger Things.
What did you think about Stranger Things?
So, Stranger Things is a nostalgic blend of sci fi, horror, and adventure that has captivated audiences since its debut in 2016. Created by the Duffer Brothers, the show is set in the 1980s and follows a group of kids in the small town of Hawkins, Indiana, as they uncover government experiments, alternate dimensions, and supernatural threats. It's a show with teenagers that are fighting monsters, put in more simple terms. With the main character being Millie Bobby Brown and playing 11, which is her most iconic role, and she played it beautifully.
I think my favorite thing about Stranger Things was season one. I thought season one was iconic. It was so interesting. And to be completely firm, if Stranger Things would have been a one season type of show, I'd have been sure, great. Like, this was just perfect from the beginning until the end. I thought it was so just complex and well done and explored on every single level.
And the cinematography is purely impressive.
Out of this world. So nice.
Like, you're just looking at it, and in every second, you think that you could probably frame that and put it on a wall. because everything looks so artistic and so beautiful, and the cast is just so beautifully chosen, and everyone is playing their part just perfectly. The storyline is so interesting, and I've heard reviews about Stranger Things. People are complaining that it copies E.T. or The Goonies and other like old movies, but I think it was for the sake of art, so I don't mind it, honestly.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but for me, Stranger Things kind of gives me Scooby Doo vibes meets cinema.
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
I thought it had very creative writing. I think that's one of the things that people, the audience, really appreciated about this movie. That it just went out of the box by a lot, if you ask me.
It's definitely an unusual show. So it's nothing like anything you've seen before.
I think where they might have dropped the ball a tiny bit is in the fact that they tried to make so many seasons. And at some point, for me personally, for example, it kind of started getting repetitive. Like I knew how it was going to start and then how it's going to go in like a ballpark for the
Yeah.
story. And I think that's something that hurt the show because it started as being something very quirky and creative and so well done, but then they just went on and on with it to the point where instead of preserving that uniqueness, they just exploited it until it wasn't as interesting anymore, in a sense. Like you could just kind
Yeah.
of understand what's going and predict what's going to happen.
They should have probably stopped at season 4, but
Oh yeah, they're gonna make another one, right?
yeah, they're gonna make another one, and it's the last one apparently.
Well, we're gonna see. Who's your favorite character?
Dustin?
Really? Wow, that's such a like I never heard that before. Why do you like him so much?
He was so funny and cute and like innocent, and he was always the guy that makes things better, you know?
Yeah, he was so I don't know, just clumsy in a sense, but in a very cute
Yeah.
way. Like he's a cute kid. I really liked Will.
I liked Will too.
That was partially why I enjoyed, like, even though I complain about having so many seasons, I enjoyed the second season at least because he had a bigger part there. Because, you know, in the first one, he kind of gets kidnapped and you don't really get to see him. But I think the actor did a great job, and I really enjoyed seeing him get a more developed role and having a bit more screen time in the next seasons. I really, really liked him.
I would have probably said 11 as well. She played her role beautifully,
Yeah.
but honestly, seeing her in interviews, she just gave me the feeling that she hates Stranger Things.
Why? I don't know what you're talking about.
I think people have put her in the box of a kid because of Stranger Things, and because of that, she started hating it because she has this energy whenever she talks about Stranger Things as if it was a burden instead of a blessing. Or that's my interpretation of her speech. Might be wrong.
Okay, fair as I get that. Oh, but I do think she did a great character. I think she's a great actress.
Yeah, she is.
I think one of the people that I enjoyed so much in this show and seeing as an adult and, you know, having like a very serious moment was Winona Ryder.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's iconic. And it was so interesting to see her, you know, because, yeah, Stranger Things, it's sci fi and everything, but to see her in a more normal role, like typical mom, it was just, I didn't even recognize her in the beginning because of the normalcy.
I liked her role. She played it beautifully, and I also liked the themes of friendship in this series.
Yeah.
I think it emphasizes how important it is to form real connections with your friends since a very young age, and I love a show that encourages you to care about your friends. And I think this was today's episode about teen series and films. If you guys want more recommendations, just leave it in the comments and we'll do a second part to this.
Yeah, let us know what you want to see, and also definitely let us know what you thought about these movies and these TV shows.
And with that being said, I think we're gonna see you the next time.
Thank you guys. Bye.
Bye.